Imagine standing in a vast desert, where the wind carries whispers of voices long silenced. The sun sinks behind red sandstone cliffs, and shadows stretch across a land older than memory itself. This is the Navajo Nation, the largest Native American reservation in the United States. But behind the breathtaking landscapes lies a story that has been buried, forgotten by some, ignored by others. Why do reservations exist? Were they meant to protect Native people or to control them? And what hidden truths lie beneath the surface of this sacred land? Tonight, in the Hidden Truth Archive, we uncover the buried secrets of the Navajo Nation and the untold history behind Native American reservations. To understand the Navajo story, we must first return to the birth of America itself. When European settlers arrived, they saw endless land, fertile soil, and opportunity. But this was not empty land. It was home to hundreds of sovereign nations, each with its own language, culture, and sacred traditions. The clash was inevitable. As America expanded westward, treaties were signed, promises made in elegant words, often sealed with ceremonial handshakes. Yet almost every treaty was broken. For many Native nations, the deal was clear: give up ancestral homelands in exchange for peace, protection, and new lands reserved forever. But forever rarely lasted longer than the ink on the page. Reservations were born not as gifts, but as cages. And soon, the Navajo would learn this painful truth. The Navajo, or Diné, as they call themselves, lived across a vast region of the Southwest, what is now Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. Their traditions tied them to the land, to the 4 sacred mountains, to the rivers, to the desert mesas. But in 1864, the U.S. government came with soldiers and bayonets. The Navajo were forced from their homeland in a brutal event known as the Long Walk. Men, women, and children were marched more than 300 miles to an internment camp at Bosque Redondo. Thousands died of hunger, exhaustion, and disease. Those who survived lived in misery, far from the land that gave them life. Yet even in exile, the Navajo spirit did not break. In 1868, after years of suffering, they signed a treaty allowing them to return to a portion of their homeland. It was not the full land they had known, but it was theirs, and they made it sacred again. This marked the birth of the Navajo Nation reservation. But the hidden truths behind it were darker than most realize. The official story told by the U.S. government was simple. Reservations would protect Native people from encroaching settlers and ensure their survival. But the buried truth is far more sinister. Reservations were never designed as sanctuaries. They were designed as instruments of control. By confining Native nations to specific boundaries, the government could strip them of their independence, dismantle their traditional ways of life, and free up valuable land for settlers. For the Navajo, this meant giving up vast stretches of sacred territory. It meant living under constant government oversight, where rations replaced farming and federal agents replaced self-governance. Even education became a weapon. Native children were forced into boarding schools, where they were forbidden to speak their language or practice their traditions. The goal was not just to control the land, but to erase the people. So the question remains, were reservations meant to save Native nations or to silence them? Fast forward to the present day, and life on reservations is a story of contrasts. On one hand, reservations remain centers of cultural identity. Powwows, ceremonies, and traditional practices flourish here. The Navajo language, once silenced in schools, is now taught to younger generations. The bond to the land, to sacred sites and ancestral memory, remains unbroken. But the struggles are real. Poverty rates on many reservations, including the Navajo Nation, are far higher than the national average. Infrastructure is often lacking. Some communities still do not have electricity, clean water, or reliable health care. Unemployment remains high, and opportunities are limited. Many young people leave to seek a future elsewhere. Yet the pull of their homeland always lingers. The reservation is both a cradle of identity and a constant reminder of loss. But perhaps the most haunting truths lie not above ground, but beneath it. The Navajo Nation sits on land rich in resources, uranium, coal, oil, and natural gas. For decades, companies mined these resources, often with little regard for the people who lived there. During the Cold War, uranium from Navajo lands fueled America's nuclear weapons program. But the price was devastating. Mines left behind toxic waste, poisoning the water and soil. Many Navajo families unknowingly built homes with contaminated materials. Cancer rates soared, water sources became unsafe, and still, the profits flowed outward, leaving the Navajo to bear the consequences. It is a bitter irony. The very land meant to be a refuge became a source of suffering, exploited for wealth that the Navajo themselves rarely saw. Yet despite everything, the broken treaties, the forced relocations, the poisoned lands, the Navajo Nation endures. Today, the Navajo have their own government, their own courts, and their own police. They run businesses, schools, and cultural programs. The reservation, once meant to strip them of identity, has become a center of cultural revival. Economic ventures like casinos, tourism, and energy projects provide income. But beyond money, there is something more powerful at work: a deep resilience. The Navajo people continue to practice ceremonies, honor their traditions, and pass on their stories. The sacred mountains still stand, and so too does the Navajo spirit. So, what is the truth behind reservations? They were not created as gifts, nor as acts of kindness. They were tools of control, born from broken promises and hidden agendas. Yet what was meant to weaken native nations has, in many ways, made them stronger. The Navajo, like so many others, have turned survival into resilience, and resilience into strength. The land remembers, the people remember, and even as centuries pass, the truth cannot remain buried forever. The story of the Navajo Nation is not just history, it is a living truth, still unfolding. It is a reminder of the hidden costs of America's growth and the resilience of those who were never meant to survive. But if these are the secrets we've uncovered tonight, what other truths still lie buried, waiting to be unearthed in the forgotten corners of history? This is the Hidden Truth Archive, and the search has only just begun.